that conscious effort to change a behavior makes us uncomfortable. Even though it may be good for us, it makes us uncomfortable for a day, 7 days, 20 days, 30 days. That period of time is what we call as the switch cost. And if people understand that you've got to do something for about 66 days, not 20 days, not 40, but the latest research says that to make the switch cost stick, commit to at least 66 days. And your brain will then take what you have to consciously think about, what you constantly have to put effort towards doing. It'll make it automatic so you don't have to think about it anymore.
I love that.
And so the first part is whatever goal you want to achieve, first ask yourself, am I prepared to pay the switch cost? To be uncomfortable long enough to make my new thoughts, my new emotions, and my new behaviors the default, the new default. Because once it's
like the browser that's set on your computer, it's the automatic.
It's automatic. And if you think about our lives, most of what we do is automatic. We don't deviate very much from when we wake up, when we go to sleep, what we watch, what we eat, where we exercise, who we hang out, what clothes do we wear. We're pretty much creatures of habit. The key is most of the habits that people have, like I'm referring to habits as emotions, thoughts, and behaviors, are geared towards helping you achieve exactly what you are achieving right now. And for those of you that don't think that you are committed, you are to those results. To those of you who don't think you are disciplined, yes, you are to those thoughts and feelings and behaviors. The key is to become committed, more committed to your new vision, whether it's your body, your relationship, your health, your business, and then pay the switch cost long enough to make that the new you.
Need motivation?
Watch a Top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more, and you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, John Assaraf, and my take on his top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Rule number 2, master your mindset.
Until you learn how to master your mindset by recognizing what's holding you back, the real reasons that you're not taking the actions that you need to take, and learn how to reframe them in the right part of your brain so you can override the messaging signal from the amygdala, the fear center, the emotional center of the brain, to the part of the brain that's responsible for taking action, you're never going to achieve your goals. So whether you have doubts or fears or anxieties, fear of success, fear of failure, fear of losing your job, fear of losing your home, fear of losing your money, you have to understand that just like a car has a light that pops up on the dashboard when something's wrong in the engine, you have an emotion that is your signal to let you know whether you're feeling good or not, whether you're comfortable or not, whether you have certainty or not, whether you have confidence or not. And if you're lacking the confidence and the certainty, it's going to cause doubt. If you're going to have doubt, it may cause anxiety. And as soon as that sets into the brain in a nanosecond, your ability to take action is like having 1 foot on the gas and 1 foot on the brake. There's going to be a lot of movement going on in the tires, but you're really not going to get anywhere. So the first thing I want you to do is write down what's really holding you back. Why aren't you really, get clear, get deep, why aren't you really taking action towards any of your goals, health goals, financial goals, business goals, whatever goals you have? Write that down and ask yourself, is this real? Is this imagined? Is it a probability or is it a possibility? What you'll find, for the most part, is the negative consequence is a possibility. And as soon as you buy into that possibility, you're going to do everything possible to run away, to fight, freeze, or fight that feeling. But when you learn how to switch your brain from recognizing what's holding you back to reframing the possibility from the probability to just a normal possibility, you start to activate different parts of your brain that start showing you the solutions to how to overcome the fear, how to overcome the risk, how to overcome the possible negative consequence. And then what happens is the amygdala, the part of your brain that's responsible to protect you and to keep you safe, the firing threshold of that signal gets lowered. The message to the motor cortex doesn't get sent, so you start to take action. And third, what is happening is that your left prefrontal cortex, the CEO, the genius part of your brain, starts to think about ways that you can actually take action and do it faster and easier and better. It starts to change what you see. It starts to change your vibration. And now you start to have a lot more control over not just having goals and having strategies and plans, but getting yourself to take action.
Rule number 3, make a commitment.
If we said, in a year, we all want to jog a marathon together. And let's say you're in awful shape right now, but we started with, a 5-minute walk today. And then 5-minute walk tomorrow, 5-minute walk the next day, then maybe 10 minutes, then maybe 15, maybe a light jog 30 days from now. Is it possible that with the commitment that we're going to do a marathon in a year, and the beginning commitment to doing a little bit today and a little bit more each day, including getting massaged and eating well and resting and getting a right program for how much we should train, is it possible that almost every one of us a year from now could slowly jog a marathon? The answer is yes. That means that the issue is not that you can't run a marathon. That means that A, you haven't made a commitment to run a marathon, and then you haven't put together the process in order to do it safely and effectively, which means that I don't care what your current situation is right now, there is a way out. You have to start with your commitment and then get started.
Rule number 4, create a vision board.
Whenever I want to create anything, whether it's my physical body, a home, a car, a trip, there's a big part of our brain called the occipital lobe, back of our brain. Even when light comes in through our eyes, right, cells in the back of our brain activate and an image pops up in our brain. And that image that pops up into our brain is connected to the motivational center and the thinking center part of our brain. So if a negative image pops up, we reduce our motivation and we don't take action. And then we reinforce that pattern. But let's say I have an image of something that I really want, something that inspires me, that as soon as I pop up that image in my brain, I actually release dopamine, the reward neurochemical in my brain that actually creates motivation, that's actually tied to what I call as the Einstein part of the brain that can actually help you figure out how to achieve that thing. And so I create images of what is it that I want to create for health, wealth, relationships, career, business, charity, fun, and experiences, so that I can activate the reward circuits in my brain, the motivational circuits in my brain, the thinking centers in my brain to help me figure out how to achieve it. But the other purpose of a vision board is to give your brain the instruction of, this is the stuff that's important to me that I want to create, do, be, have, or give.
Right.
So, we all have, 50,000 thoughts a day. We all have so much with social media, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or YouTube or Clubhouse or whatever, all the different, stations and channels are and the people that want to gather our attention. Well, why don't we become better at focusing our attention on what we want to trade our life for? Right? Because when somebody is pulling us to look at their stuff, like, we're part of their goals and dreams and their vision, versus me being focused on what is it that I want to trade my life for and instructing my brain, help me find ways to trade my life for these things. And that's how to use your brain properly versus your brain using you because it may not have been conditioned properly with the right beliefs and focus and awareness and habits.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5, be consistent.
One of the things that I really learned many years ago was something around habits. And the habit is more important than the intensity.
Yeah, the
The
consistency.
habit, if you can get into doing something productive, constructive every day, you will continue to do something pro your goals, pro your health, pro whatever it is every day. And some days, I have a trainer that comes to my home as well. And some days I'm exhausted. Just exhausted. But I still go through the motions even when I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
Because the habit's more important to me than the intensity. So some days I feel like I don't want to work out.
Right.
I still do something. I don't care if I lay on the ground and my trainer moves my legs or my arms, I just move my neck left and right. I've still done something to create movement and to enforce or reinforce a positive habit that is part of the nucleus of success.
Rule number 6, recognize your emotions.
And there are 7 core emotions that people have, happiness, sadness, fear, disgust, shame, guilt. Those are just emotions, and it's either something that's happening on the inside that's causing that emotion, something that we associate with what we're doing, or something from the outside that's instigating that emotion. And so the first part of any change is to recognize the emotion that I'm feeling and not laying judgment on it, but accepting it as just energy in motion. It's either pleasant or unpleasant, something we want to move towards or move away from. So once we recognize it, the question then becomes, is it real? Is it true that I'm feeling this as a result of the meaning that I'm giving it? And in most cases, it's not true. It's something that we have become conditioned to believe is true because of the references or because of our own experiences that we have around that issue. And the way our brain works is anytime that we feel uncertain about something that may cause us harm or pain, a part of our brain called the reptilian brain actually activates in a billionth of a second a fear circuit which causes us to either flee, which means run away, freeze, which means we do nothing, or fight it, which means we're in most cases fighting air. And so if we can reframe something, the meaning of it long enough to let the emotion pass, that causes the third R to be activated, and that's the release of an unpleasant emotion.
Rule number 7, don't choose a life of regret.
When someone is really having a hard life, hard time, they're in the situation that they don't want to, I don't want to practice my inner side, I don't want to visualize. What suggestion you have for them, when they have the dark night of the soul?
Well, listen, if you don't feel like doing something once in a while, then you're human.
Sure.
But let me know if this resonates with you, and whoever's listening, let me know if it resonates with you. Do you agree with this statement? In life, you're going to either pay the price of discipline or you're going to pay the price of regret. Discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons. That's Jim Rohn, by the way. And so when you're sitting there and saying, I don't feel like it, my question for you is, what do you not feel like it more? Doing this little thing or living a life of regret?
Wow, that's huge.
Right? So let's create a juxtaposition against what I don't feel like doing, and let's use contrasting to say, are you okay with this being your character? Are you okay with this being your life forever? Are you okay with developing a lazy habit and lazy disciplines? Are you okay for the next 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30, 40 years, having that as your modus operandi and your identity? If you're okay with that, great, don't feel like it, don't do it, but then don't complain and don't want any more. But if you're not okay with the short-term and long-term consequences of that decision, then here's what I want you to say. I know I don't feel like it, but I will do just a little bit.
Rule number 8, upgrade your software.
What if you said, okay, I want to make, let's just say $100,000 a year or $1 million. It doesn't make a difference. And I asked you, what do you need to believe about yourself to achieve it? So I need to believe I'm smart enough. Good. Write down, I am smart enough. What else do you need to believe? I need to believe that I am worthy. I need to believe that I deserve this. I need to believe that it's possible. I need to believe, you write down 5 or 6 or 7 beliefs that are just words on a sheet of paper. Now, let me stop for just a moment. I'm going to tell a story and come back to this. I want you to imagine that somebody tapped you on the shoulder sometime today and say, hey, I work with Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks in Hollywood, and we have this new script, okay, that if you get really good at this script where you could read it in front of a camera without the script, we'll pay you $10 million. Now, I want you to imagine you've never seen the script, you don't know how to act, but they said to you, we're going to give you an acting coach. We're going to give you everything you need to memorize the script. We're going to give you everything you need to act it perfectly. What would you do to take that script that's on a piece of paper that you've never seen before? What would you do to take that script to make it yours, for you to own it? And the answer is you'd probably read it like what, once? Would you read it maybe 100 times, 200 times, 500 times? You think you might role play with somebody while you're holding the script in your hand? Do you think you might research the role? Do you think you might take a camera and practice it? And do you think that if you practice it 1 time, 50 times, 100 times, 500 times, you can finally put the script down and you can get in front of the camera and go, boom, here is the script? Do you think you could do that? Well, guess what? A script that's on a piece of paper that you don't believe, with practice, you start to believe. So what happens if you take a belief system and you start to imprint it into your subconscious mind, initially through conscious repetition. But there are ways to access the subconscious mind that we know today that are faster and easier than just doing it consciously. And so you take a vision of you achieving your goals and dreams. You take the beliefs you need. You learn how to manage your emotions a little bit better. And then you develop the habits, which again are nothing more than neural patterns in the brain that have been reinforced. And when you learn how to deactivate the destructive ones and activate constructive ones through spaced repetition and reinforcement, now you are resetting your default way of being. Oh. So a belief is nothing more than a reinforced pattern that if you learn how to deactivate it and create a new one, it's like a software upgrade for your brain.
Rule number 9, prime your brain daily.
One of the things that I would like everybody to consider is every day, okay, how can you direct your brain, okay, where you want the attention to go, right? So there's a saying in neuroscience that energy flows to where attention goes. Energy flows to where attention goes. So if you think of negative things and you predict that you're going to be embarrassed, ashamed, ridiculed, judged, you're going to fail, then the energy and attention goes there, and your brain then predicts that that's going to be the reality. So we're predicting in advance what we think might happen. But by the same token, if you predict you're going to be successful, healthy, happy, financially secure, you're going to be enjoying life, then the energy goes there. So I do something every day called cognitive priming, or I prime my brain. And every day I take out my goals, my vision, my goals, my why, and what I want to achieve. And I have a discussion with my brain on being very, very clear on help me achieve these things.
help these things become a reality. Show me the tools, the resources, the people that I need in order to make this my reality. So I'm putting my brain to work instead of allowing it to do what it naturally wants to do, which is repeat old patterns. So I am developing the new patterns like a software engineer, creates software. I'm just programming my own brain every day on what to focus on. Do that every day. Focus on what you want instead of what you don't want. Watch the magic start to happen.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is shield your beliefs.
When somebody is challenging your thoughts, somebody's challenging your identity, somebody's challenging your ideas, and you're allowing what they say to override what you know, in most cases, it's because you're lacking self-esteem yourself. You're lacking confidence with the product or the service or the idea. And so it really is never about what they're saying. It's about your interpretation and your automatic response to what they're saying. So the meaning that we give anything determines how we feel about it. So the question is, well, how do I change the meaning of what somebody says to me? How do I put a shield around myself when somebody says something negative to me so that it doesn't affect me? And one of the things, again, to do is instead of be in a state of reacting, be in a state of observation, be in a state of awareness of why is it when Joe or Mary or Harry or Sally said X, did I feel a certain way? And it's because of the meaning that we have given things in our own minds. And so the key is not to try and get people to say fewer of those things. The key is for us to be able to accept any kind of external stimuli and do with it what we choose. And is there a way that you can learn how to give anything that happens a positive meaning? That's number one. Number two, when most people have a negative comment, it's because of their experience, their story, their believability around that idea that is causing their reaction. So you can choose to accept it or you can choose to reject it. In either case, if you're the one making the choice, then you're never going to be a victim of somebody else's stimuli. And it reminds me of a wonderful little story about Buddha. He was walking into a village, and about an hour outside this village, this person came up to him and kept berating him, how silly he was, how stupid he was, how he wasn't there to serve people, he was there only for self-gain. And Buddha wasn't responding to this individual. He just kept sending him love and prayers and good wishes. And finally, just before they got into town, this guy said, well, I'm antagonizing you. I'm telling you all these negative things. How come you're not responding to me? And Buddha said something brilliant. He said, listen, if somebody offers you a gift and you choose not to accept the gift, to whom does the gift belong? And so obviously, if somebody's giving you feedback that isn't going to serve you, just don't accept the feedback. Just don't accept it as part of your truth or reality. Stay true to your own knowing. Stay true to your own confidence and certainty. And that way you'll be in control of your own destiny versus what people say or don't say. Let's say you ask yourself a question and you say to yourself, I don't know. Say, I don't know. Have you ever done that? Am I the only one that sometimes when I ask a question, I go, I don't know? Then I ask myself, I understand, but if I did know, what could it be? So I want to go layer by layer by layer to ask better questions. The better questions I ask, the more my brain will look to solve the answer, won't it? Right? So I ask really good questions of my brain. And if I ask myself, why am I procrastinating? I don't know. So, well, if I did know, what would it be? I don't know. Well, could I go onto Google and find out why I procrastinate? Yes. Am I willing to? Sure. When? Right now. Right? If I go down another path, if I don't know, is it possible that somebody else knows the answer to this? Is there a book that the answer is in? Is there a YouTube video? Is there an Instagram post? Is there something on Pinterest? Is there something somewhere online that I can find an answer to my question if I keep saying I don't know? So the answer is, of course, the answer's there. It's 2021, the middle of 2021. Of course, the answers are here. The answers are here for how to lose weight and keep it off. The answers are here on how to double your income in the next 12 months. The answers are here for how to leave a job that you hate and get a new one that you love. The answers here for how to start a business. The answers here for how to put a rocket ship on Mars. The answers here for how to be spiritually connected. The answers are here. So is it possible that maybe we haven't learned to be great question askers? And if it's possible that this biocomputer always finds the answer based on the questions that we're asking. So if you ask yourself, why can't I ever achieve this? Your brain's going to go, let me show you why. Why is this so hard? Well, I'll show you why. How come I can't figure it out? Those are questions. Ask questions whereby the answer means you're moving forward. Did you hear that? Ask questions whereby the answer you give yourself moves you forward. So you're never stuck finding the answer to the problem, you find the answer to the solution. Did you hear that? Don't find the answer to the problem or the obstacle. Find the answer to the solution. What has to happen in order for me to take action? Whose help do I need to take action? What do I need to learn? What do I need to start? What should I stop?
There are a variety of different ways to find ways to remove the darkness. We can read. We can go to YouTube and watch videos. We can be on social media. We can join groups. We can be part of masterminds. We can hire a coach. We can go and work for somebody, who knows how to do what you want to learn how to do. And so the first part, though, is to become resourceful in the absence of resources. So I'll give you an example. Mr. Brown says, I'll be your mentor, your guru. And I said, awesome. And the next thing he said to me, he says, well, I need you to move from Montreal to Toronto. And I said, what? I don't know anybody in Toronto. I said, I don't have any money to get an apartment. I don't have a car. I don't have a job. He says, well, you don't need money, a car, an apartment, or a job. First, you need to make the decision. Then you figure out how to get all the rest. Yeah. I said, I know, but you don't understand. I left high school in grade 11. I have $60 in the bank. He says, that's okay. He says, make the decision, then you figure out how. So I said, well, maybe I could move in with my brother. My brother said, yeah, you can move in with me short term, sleep on the sofa, because it's only a 1-bedroom apartment that I live in. And so I ended up moving to Toronto. And then right after that, at the same sentence, the same lunch that I had with him, he said, and I need you to enroll in the real estate school that costs $500, and it starts on April the 20th. And this was in 1980, just to give you an example.
Oh, I was born.
I said, you want me to go back to school? I left school at grade 11. I failed English, I failed math. I'm terrible at school, and I need $500. I only have $60 in the bank account. Right. I understand, but first you make the decision, and then you figure out how. I said, Mr. Brown, I don't have any money. Like, I can't make the decision, to go into school. He says, oh, yes, you can. He says, many people think that you have to have the tools, the knowledge, the skills, the resources before you make the decision. And he said, John F. Kennedy made a decision to put a man safely on the moon and return him back to Earth before we even had the technology to be able to do that. He says, average people look at their current circumstances and their past, and they allow that to dictate what they do or don't do. He says highly successful people create a vision for what they want, and then they use their powerful brain to figure out how they can because they must. So I said, fine, I'll find the money. Well, my brother then said, well, I can lend you $100. My mother lent me some money. My sister lent me some money. 3 weeks later, I moved to Toronto, took the real estate course. 5 weeks later, I passed the real estate test because I studied every day, and he showed me how to. And so in 5 weeks, I moved to another state. I found the money for a course I didn't have money for. I passed the test even though I thought I wasn't very smart. I became a licensed real estate agent, all because I made a commitment to doing it, even though I didn't know how, even though I didn't have the resources, the financial or non-financial resources. So one of the greatest lessons he shared with me is vision comes first, goals come second, strategies of how you're going to achieve them come third.
If you take a look at, Dr. J, and you take a look at Vince Carter, you take a look at Dwayne Wade, and you take a look at any of the players today, LeBron, they studied the patterns of other great players. And that's what is really fun that's the fun I'm having now is I know that if I gave 100 people the blueprint of what to do, one might do it. But if I trained 100 people's brains to focus on what I want them to focus on, and I trained them how to manage their emotions, and I gave them the blueprint of what to do, I can get 60 to take action and follow through. And you may ask, how do I know this? Because I know when I used to sell our coaching programs for $5, $10, $20, $30, $50, $100,000, when we didn't do the mindset training and the emotional management training, the success of our clients was maybe 5 or 6%. And when we did include the mindset, the emotional management, and the skill sets, 62% of our clients started to achieve phenomenal success.
A why that makes you cry.
That deep. Why that makes you cry. If the deeper you can get this, and the deeper you can not be afraid to go there,
Yes.
And say, yes, I matter, and I can make a difference in my life and my friends or kids or husband or wife and family and community and mankind. That is what inspires you.
Yes.
Right?
Internally.
It's spirit within you is expressing itself that way versus doing things that expire you. When you minimize who you are, you're expiring your spirit.
Wow. I love that
Versus
so
doing
much.
things that inspire, that allow spirit to express itself more fully. Spirit is always for fuller expression and expansion of itself, right? But we get these disempowering, expiring beliefs and habits and perspective and perceptions from ignorant people that we grew up around, not because they were bad people. They just didn't know.
They didn't know any better.
They didn't know any better.
Yes.
And now we know better. And so if we know better, let's do better and feel better and be better and give better. And that's what it's all about. The law of bigger fears states this. Do you agree that there is a way to frame things that are more painful if you give things certain meaning? So let me explain the law of bigger fears. Let's say you're procrastinating on a project, on anything, doesn't make a difference. Can you put your something that you're procrastinating in the chat right now? So put whatever it is that you're procrastinating, okay, right now if you can, all right? Put something in the chat of what you're procrastinating right now. Let me share with you the law of bigger fears. So we talked about the law of little actions. We talked about the law of secondary gains, but let's take a look at anything that you are procrastinating right now. I want you to write out, okay, and you don't have to do it right now, but if you ask yourself, what am I gaining? How am I gaining by procrastinating? So I feel safe, I feel secure, I don't have to expend energy, etc. Also, next to that, I want you to write down, what is the cost of procrastinating? What's the cost of procrastinating like this? On your self-worth and self-esteem, on your income, on your relationship, on your self-image of how you see yourself, on your self-trust. So if and when I procrastinate, the cost to me is more than just the completion of the goal, but the cost to me is loss of self-respect. The cost to me is I reinforce a pattern of procrastination. The cost to me is I repeat patterns that I reinforce. The cost to me, what is the cost to you of procrastinating? And here's what we can do. if you make the cost to you bigger than the reward you're getting for not doing it. Let me repeat that. If you make the cost of not doing it, the bigger fear, the bigger cost, greater than the cost, that the reward you're getting, then now we have what's called is a contrast frame. Not doing this gives me, this, which we know we get, but not doing this also costs me this and reinforces this. So now you say not doing it, I get these rewards, but here is what the cost is of staying in my job, Michelle. Here's what the real cost is on my income, my self-worth, my self-esteem, my children, my spouse, my significant other. And if you believe and agree with me that whatever behaviors we reinforce, we become. Whatever behaviors we reinforce, we become. Why? Because of something called automaticity in the brain. Once we reinforce a pattern, the pattern then moves into a subconscious automated sequence. So there's no thought involved in repeating the pattern because it's easy and it doesn't require very little energy. So when we're talking about the law of bigger fears, the law of bigger costs, now we can use a contrast frame, and our brain is great at avoiding the bigger pain. Did you hear what I just said? Your brain, my brain, is great at avoiding the bigger of the two pains. And since we do more to avoid pain than we do to gain pleasure, if we're procrastinating because we're gaining some kind of safety and pleasure, our brain will move away from the greater of the two. And the greater of the two is moving away from the bigger cost.
Let's say you have a shortage of money right now. Let's say you're not earning as much as you'd like, and there's too much month left at the end of the money. Too much month left at the end of money creates stress. Decisions around money can create stress. What to buy, what not to buy. Is it too expensive? Is it, not expensive enough for my taste? Whatever the stress is. I want you to understand stress a little bit differently from the brain perspective. This is the part of the brain, the brain stem that is attached to the first part of the brain called the reptilian brain, which is connected very, very quickly to the amygdala, the stress response center in the brain. When we have stress in our life, whether it's money stress, emotional stress, relationship stress, business stress, career stress, whatever stress we have, the signal that is sent through the electrical system in the brain and the chemical system in the brain, when stress is activated, there's a part of the brain called the vagus nerve and the sympathetic nervous system, which is part of your autonomic nervous system. But the sympathetic nervous system specifically is the system that activates, the stress response system activates one of four things: fear, okay? And we'll talk about fear in just a moment, but when we're in a state of stress, the fight or flight response kicks in, the sympathetic nervous system. So when we're in a fight mindset, we are using a lot of epinephrine, adrenaline, cortisol, and there's this current of anxiety. Now, that's not that bad if it's a little bit, but when it's too much, it actually deactivates the thinking part of your brain that can actually solve the reason you're stressed. So when we are in this fight or flight, which is runaway modality, or the freeze or faint modality, there are people who freeze when they're under too much stress. There are people who faint under too much stress. There are people who run away, and there's people who just try to fight it. So when we are looking at the brain and we're looking at stress, okay, and this is what Heidi's talking about here. She says stress is our own GPS system saying that something is out of alignment, and the energy movement from the calm and respond part of the brain is gone to the stress and react part of the brain. And so one of the tools to calm the brain down, to go from reactive stress to relax and respond is exercise number one that we teach, and that you're all going to be able to learn in my new book called Exercise. But exercise number one is called Take 6, Calm the Circuits. So whenever you're feeling stressed, whenever there's a problem, whenever you're feeling overwhelmed, whenever you're feeling confused, whenever you're feeling like it's too much, stop. As opposed to trying to fight your way through it, stop, calm down, close your eyes, take 6 deep breaths like this. In through your nose, gently, in a rhythm of about 6 breaths per minute, every 10 seconds. And when you do a breathing exercise, take 6, calm the circuits, that's exercise number one, you actually deactivate the stress response center in the brain, and you activate the calm and respond part of the brain.
I thought I was afraid of public speaking.
Right.
I thought that was, I would just say I'm a bad public speaker. That was my story. Well, you're absolutely right. What you said, that's what it was. I was afraid of judgment. I was afraid of rejection. And that was what was holding me back.
And these are subconscious patterns, right? So the feeling, okay, is this uncomfortable, just very uncomfortable. It's stressful. It creates anxiety. And so it's not the public speaking. So the question is, where did you learn to have this idea that speaking in public causes you to be embarrassed, ashamed, ridiculed, or judged? And here's what a lot of people will say if you ask them, like, where did that come from? They'll say, well, when I was a kid in class and, the teacher asked a question and I answered and the answer was wrong, the other kids made fun of me. Or the teacher said, no, that's not the right answer. And they were embarrassed and the other kids ridiculed them. So like, who the hell wants that? So if our brain is focusing on wiring whatever keeps us safe and whatever keeps pain away, we avoid pain, or we'll do anything to avoid pain way before we do anything to gain pleasure. And so survival first, avoidance of pain second, before we gain pleasure. So if there's any real or imagined danger where we're going to be emotionally hurt, mentally hurt, physically hurt, financially hurt, our brain gives us this signal, be aware. This may be one of those times. It says, be aware, this may be one of those times. And so the cycle, the neural circuit, the cycle shouldn't stop there. But when people haven't been trained on, here are my 6 core emotions, here are my feelings that those emotions cause, and here's what to do. When this emotion is triggered, do this. When this emotion is triggered, do that. And what you want to do is learn when the emotion of fear is triggered, the neurochemistry is adrenaline, cortisol, epinephrine, norepinephrine. That's like this high anxiety rocket fuel within us. Now, in most people, it causes them to just stop, put on the brake. But how is it that a firefighter, could see a building blowing up in front of them, a building crashing down, a raging fire, and yet she musters up the courage to use that fuel from fear and go in? It's because she's been trained. It's because she's been trained.
There's Einstein, which represents our left prefrontal cortex, the smart genius part of our brain that has imagination, that can come up with all the ideas of what about this, I can have this, I can have this. But what most people don't understand is we also have, a Frankenstein part of our brain, the inner critic, that says, but you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, what if you fail, what if you're embarrassed, what if you're ashamed? So we have this, that's why I have them. There's Einstein and there's Frankenstein, just to remind me and to remind my students that both exist within us. And our goal is to understand that, the way our brain works is there's always a protective side of our brain. So Frankenstein's always going, what if you fail? What if you succeed and fail? What if you disappoint yourself? And Einstein's going, don't worry about it. Imagine the future. And so there's this constant battle in our brains, going on. And our goal, and meditation is one of the best ways to recognize that both exist and both are right.
Your Frankenstein part of your brain is there to protect you. Your Einstein brain is ready to help you achieve your goals and dreams. And the key is to remember, you're not your brain. You're not the Einstein part. You're not the Frankenstein part. There's another side of you that is much greater than all of it. Mark Waldman, in his little training over here, says 7 days of gratitude exercise. The more you focus on your thoughts, the more your brain becomes habituated to it. The brain tends to pay more attention to negative thoughts. This is based on the instinctual parts of the brain. We can train ourselves to focus on the positives as well. At the end of the day, he says, write down 3 things you feel grateful for and 3 things you did well. This can change your brain. You only have to do it for 7 days and you will see your self-esteem grow for 3 months. So when we are giving you, gratitude things to do, anything we're teaching you to do, it's all based in neuroscience research. And so the more you're grateful, the more you have to be grateful for. The more you train your brain to be grateful, the more it looks and becomes habituated to look for other things to be grateful for. I tend to be a goal-seeking guy, right? Mm-hmm. And I used to not celebrate the small stuff. And I used to just like, bigger goal, more, bigger. And somebody says to me, like, are you going to like slow down just to enjoy some of the stuff that you actually have done for yourself and for people in your family? And I was like, well, let me create an accomplish board.
So good.
Right,
biggest struggle for me too.
So accomplish board, you passed that test on your own 40 years ago. Celebrate that. You helped this person who was challenged, and celebrate that. You did this for him or for her or for yourself. Celebrate that stuff to remind yourself, because I'm tough on myself. Let's go. It's a goal. Let's go. And sometimes I forget the stuff that I have done, the stuff that I do that I need to remember. So I created an accomplishments board and a list so I can just go to it when I feel like, holy shit, am I smart enough to achieve that next thing? Am I good enough? What a lot of people don't know, Ed, is when I was a kid, I used to feel like I wasn't smart enough. And when I was a kid, it held me back. And today I still feel like I'm not smart enough, and that fuels me to get smarter. So I use it. Like I set big goals. I go, God, I don't have the skills. I don't have the knowledge, but I can figure it out. I've got contacts. I've got friends. And there's books. There's Google. There's YouTube. There's holy mackerel. I don't need to have all the specialized knowledge anymore. Not having a sales process. Not having a sales process. What does that mean? So let me share with you just a sales process. So you need to think in systems. Right? If this and this and this and this happens, then X is predictable. So let's say you are going to do a Instagram Live, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, LinkedIn Live event. You have to think past the event. You have to think past the event. Then what? Like if somebody comes to your event, if somebody reads your blog, if somebody reads your Twitter feed, if somebody watches your TikTok, like then what? Like what is the process by which you share your product, service, or knowledge information, tidbits around the things that you want to share? Then what? Like what do you want them to do next? Now, before you ask people to do something like give you their email, oh, I want your email. Before you ask them to, sign up for this free event or this paid event, you have to give them value, right? Give them value. Give them something tangible, and don't be afraid to give. When I wrote my book, Inner Size, all of my books, everything that I write in my books is the stuff in my head that I'm working with clients who pay me $5,000 an hour. They just want to go deeper on the work for me to help them implement it. But I want to give value. And then I can say, hey, if you want to go deeper, get my books. You want to go deeper, get my programs. You want to go deeper, get into my coaching program. You want to go deeper, hire me as a consultant. But first, give the knowledge. So here's the question that you want to ask yourself. What problem does your product or service solve? What fear does it eliminate? What pain does it eliminate? What gain do people have because of the product? Whenever I am looking to give people content, I'm always looking at understanding what are the pains, fears, frustrations, irritations, wants, needs, and aspirations. Let me repeat. What are the pains, fears, frustrations, irritations, wants, needs, and aspirations of the person who wants to buy whatever it is, that I have to offer? It doesn't make a difference. Somebody sold all this stuff. By the way, here's my gratitude coin, right? Gratitude. So, whether it's glasses, spray, a pen, a magnifying glass, a gratitude coin, the camera that I'm looking into, the computer, the stand, somebody had to sell that. And every single product or service either eliminates a pain, fear, frustration, irritation, or helps people with a want, need, or aspiration, right? So how do you give somebody content and information and value in advance? And I'll sit on my board or on my keyboard and I will ask, what is it that people want and need that I could help them with? And then I create, whether it's blogs, articles, videos, process maps, and I give them away. Lack of knowledge and skills. So lack of knowledge and skills. So when we don't have, let's say we have a goal, any goal, it doesn't make a difference, whether it's a relationship goal, money, charity, whatever it is, whenever we lack the knowledge or the skills, there's a part of us that has self-doubt. Self-doubt is what triggers fear.
Because we're worried we don't know enough.
Right. So if we don't know enough, if we don't have the knowledge or the skill, or we think we have to have this certain knowledge or skill that we don't have, or that we think we need, it's going to trigger self-doubt. Self-doubt triggers fear. Fear deactivates motivational centers in the brain and deactivates the thinking part of the brain and our imagination. It's circuits. It's all it is circuits turning on or off.
Yes.
And so in the absence of knowledge and skill of what to do about it, we default to not taking action because we're protecting ourselves.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And so all of these little mechanisms, these four key ones, cause us to trigger the procrastination circuit in the brain, the do not take action circuit in the brain.
Yes.
Right? And, guys or girls, when they're dating, if they feel uncertain, then they just stay there. Well, maybe he'll come and talk to me. Well, maybe she'll come and talk to me. And it just goes round and round and round and round. It's like a muscle. Your brain has neuromuscles.
Okay.
Right. So if you think about, if we want to build our bicep muscle or our chest or our shoulders or our legs, we go to the gym, we do exercises, or we go and hike or run or bike or walk or do whatever it is. Well, what do you do to strengthen your confidence muscle? What do you do to strengthen your self-esteem muscle? What do you do to strengthen your tenacity or resolve muscle? What do you do to strengthen any of your core neuromuscles like awareness? How do you strengthen your awareness? How do you strengthen your ability to focus and stay laser disciplined on an achievement of a goal? These are all neuromuscles that you can strengthen. But nobody, up until now, has come up with, here are the exercises for your neuromuscles instead of the exercises for your physical muscles until NeuroGym and Innercise. The first Innercise that you teach anybody, it's kind of like learning the alphabet first. So take 6, calm the circuits. There's 3 foundational exercises we teach in the book. There's many more. But the first one is just to deactivate the stress reactive center in the brain. And you do that through 6 deep breaths in 10-second increments. So you take a deep breath in through your nose, and then as you blow out, pretend you're blowing out through a straw. So all of your energy is towards that focus, right? So 3, 2, 1. You do that 6 times, and we can see in brain scan images that the stress response center lowers and in many cases deactivates, which throws blood back to the left prefrontal cortex. Your state of awareness increases, and then you can move to inner size number 2, which is called AYA, A-I-A, which is now in a calm, relaxed state. Now, the first A stands for awareness of my thoughts, emotions, feelings, sensations, and what have been my behaviors for, let's say, the last 5 minutes or hour. Awareness without shame, blame, guilt, justification, or judgment. Pure awareness. Calm state. Then what is my intention? Well, my intention is to be happy. I've been feeling sad. My intention is to be happy. My intention is to be focused, not scattered. Great. Let me give myself 1 or 2 intentions. Then the next A stands for what's one action to move me towards that. So if your intention is to be happy, why not look up and smile? Just look up and smile, because when you look up and smile, you release the neurochemistry of happiness, and you cannot look up and be angry, sad, mad, disappointed. You cannot. And if you look up and smile, we are wired to look up to heaven, let's say, and be hopeful. And we are wired that when we smile, the neurochemistry of happiness is firing through our bloodstream. Wow. And so if you just do inner size number 1 and 2, now you get awareness and you calm down the circuits. And then if you learn inner size number 3, it's called actors. It's called actors. No, hold on a second. I'm losing inner size number 3.
Focus.
It is called. It'll come back to me in just a moment. But the third inner size is around, it's an actor's studio exercise. Basically, it's an inner size. So any actor in the world can switch from being happy or sad or mad or disappointed or any modality of physiology that you want them to take on. They can command it on command. Right? And so if somebody's unhappy, could you teach yourself to be happy in less than 3 seconds? And the answer is yes, if you chose to.
So control of emotions.
Control of emotions. Yeah. And so when we focus on the core emotions people have of happiness, sadness, shame, disgust, contempt, love, we can learn how to switch between those on any given moment. But most people, what happens, they get caught up in this emotion, energy and motion that's negative or disempowering, and then they think about how they feel, and they feel what they're thinking about, and they keep perpetuating the same pattern, and that's not where it ends. And this is where the problem lays, is if you do that on a regular basis, your brain says, since you're repeating this, let me just make this a habit, and I'll just create that on command for you, so you're in that state more frequently. And then they don't know how to interrupt that pattern and create a new empowered state.
I'm always looking for consistency around all of my content. Does that make sense to you? If it makes sense, just tell me, John, that makes total sense. So far we have, define what your brand stands for. If your brand could speak, what would your brand say about you, right? If your brand could speak, what would your brand say about you? Is your brand fast? Is your brand slow? Is your brand lackadaisical, where it's just free flow, Bahamian, or is it more, more sharp edges? So you have to think about this. And if you're looking to build a personal brand, then you need to think about, what does my brand stand for? What do I want people to think and feel about my personal brand, so that I own some space, in their brain? So let me ask you a question. Let's have a little bit of fun. When I share with you the personal brand, Oprah, what do you feel about the brand? What do you feel about the brand? Is it a brand that you trust? Is it a brand that is fast or calm? Like, what do you feel when you hear the word Oprah? Or what do you feel when you hear the brand Elon Musk? Right? What does it make you feel? Because every brand develops consistency, and the consistency creates a feeling, and people gravitate towards how a brand makes them feel, right? Does a brand make you feel appreciated, that you can trust it, that it's safe, or that it's risky? Like Elon Musk is a risk taker, right?
He's a different brand than Oprah. And yet he's got a huge following. He will make a comment and cryptocurrency goes through the roof. Right? So what does your brand stand for?
Let's say you have a goal, okay? Any goal, a financial goal, a travel goal, a net worth goal, have my own blog post or blog and have a tribe follow me goal. And that's your vision and your goal that you've consciously chosen. But then beneath the surface, you feel, am I really worthy of that? Am I really good enough? Am I really smart enough? Do I really deserve that? Anytime you have a vision or a goal that is positive and fun and amazing, but there is a subconscious negative or disempowering pattern like self-esteem, self-worth, or self-image, the negative disempowering pattern wins 98% of the time.
Wow.
So if you think about the positive vision and goal as being the positive, if we have the positive and the negative, we have chaos in the brain. And what we really want to create more of is coherence. So what's coherence? Well, imagine you, if everybody just think about going to your favorite band. Your favorite band's coming to town. All right. And you are so excited because you just love to hear them. But their drummer or their lead vocalist or their guitarist got sick a few days ago and they had to get somebody else to play, tonight when you're going to see them play. And they haven't had a chance to practice together. And this new band member is just not in tune with everybody else. There's going to be chaos. It's like, oh, he's off. The vocals are off, or the piano's off, or the guitar is off. It just doesn't sound right or feel right.
Then the whole thing's off.
It's off. So it's like the experience is like there's no harmony here. Right? So when people's vision or goals are out of harmony with their subconscious self-esteem or fears or limiting beliefs, there's chaos and there's too much friction. And in the absence of friction, you have smooth. But when there's friction there, it's just not smooth. It's not in harmony.
When I analyze businesses, whether they're startups or doing $100 million in revenue, doesn't make a difference. Usually there's something in one of those three or all of those three that is missing. And so when we start to focus on getting the inner game right, plus what you need to do, and then you do it, the results are pretty easy. So here's what I want you to ask yourself. Are there people out there, all right, that could buy your product or service, but you don't know how to reach them, right? Is it possible that there's people out there that need what you have, your product, your service, your knowledge, your skills, whatever it is that you're selling, offering to the marketplace? Is it possible that you just don't know how to reach them? So that means that it's a skill set issue, right? Now, in 2021, we know how to do those things. There, like I said earlier where I started, right? The fact that there are 2 billion people a day online means that there's more than enough people to get in front of. Listen, in the old days, right? When we didn't have the internet, we had to advertise, in the newspapers, postcards, magazines, radio, television, or set up a store in a shopping center. But now just about every single business, okay, is online offering information, content to develop a relationship and rapport with prospects. And they're taking them through a process. Yellow Pages, that's right. Thank you, Muse Debbie Muse, right? So Yellow Pages. So here's the thing. One of the formulas that you must figure out is where I started before. Traffic times conversion equals revenue. The added version to that is traffic times conversion plus repeat business and referrals equals exponential revenue. Traffic times conversion equals revenue. Now, traffic times conversion plus referrals and repeat business equals exponential revenue. And so one of the things that you need to be thinking about, okay, and if this is the only thing that you leave today, I'm going to give you a couple things. Number one
is I need to adapt. I need to adapt to the market and use all the tools available to me, but not use every one of them. I want you to ask yourself the question I posed earlier is what has to happen in order for me to just double or triple the leads that I get? Leads. The prospects coming to see you online or offline. If you just focused on that question, what has to happen in order for me to double or triple my prospects or leads? And I'm not sure who said that you picked up the answer. Virginia, yeah, this is my New York Times best-selling book, The Answer. If anybody's read it, it is a New York Times bestseller for many, many, many years now. One of the best books on the inner game and outer game of business. Let me put that back over there on my thing. But I didn't come here to sell you on my book. I want to give you information. If anybody wants to get the book on Amazon for $15 or less, it'll blow your mind. And The Lux Coast, you're reading it now? Awesome. So when we understand there's already a process in place and we discover how do we take our product or service and create the marketing. How many of you, are you good in marketing? Are you good in marketing? Meaning, I'm not talking about branding. I'm talking about getting your product or service with the right message in front of the ideal client. If you're not good at marketing, okay, I want you to let me know, are you good at marketing? Yes or no? So you're not good at marketing. Think about this. If you're a business owner, there's a couple of different hats that you have to make sure are being taken care of, right? In business, if you're a business owner with a product or service, you have to have somebody who's doing the marketing, right? Which is developing your brand, creating your messaging for how you're going to promote your product or service to people who don't know you. You have to learn how to sell, and selling is doing something for somebody, not to somebody. You need to learn how to manage. You need to learn how to either develop products. You need to learn some of the technology needs that you have. There's a lot of different hats that you have to wear, or you have to make sure that somebody in your company is wearing that hat, right? And so imagine if you're need surgery, but you're not a good surgeon. What would you do? You'd have to find, how do I get somebody who could do the surgery? So for those of you who are not good at marketing or sales, which is the oxygen required for any business, regardless of how good your product or service are, the question you want to be asking yourself is this: who can I hire to help me? Or who can I barter with to help me? Who can I partner with to help me do my marketing and sales if you're not good at that? So hire, partner, barter, or defer payment to get it done. Because without marketing and selling, you really don't have a business. And those are skills that either you have that you need to develop, or you don't have, you're not good at, you don't want it, but you still need to figure out as a business owner, how am I going to get it done? Your job as a business owner is not to do everything, but to make sure that everything that is oxygen and is required gets done. If you were out of shape, physical shape, okay, how would you get back in shape? Like, what would you do? Let's be realistic, logical. If you're out of shape, you've been out of shape, you're overweight, you're not as healthy as you can be, right? What would you do if you made a commitment to be in shape? Okay, right? If you were committed to being in shape, and let's talk about physically right now, what would you do to break the pattern, the software? So somebody says you could diet, you can exercise, you can sleep well, right? Get 6 to 8 hours of sleep, so you reduce your cortisol levels and reduce your leptin levels. So diet, go into the gym, visualize, motivate. Willie says start gradually, right? You can create a vision board and see yourself right in shape. right? You can start with small steps. You can get an accountability partner. You can join a gym. You can hire a coach. You can ask a family member or friend if she or he would like to, start small so you can develop the habits, Magic Touch 321, right? So what are habits? Habits are automatic combinations of thoughts, emotions, feelings, sensations, and behaviors that are all automatic to do without thought. But to get to a habit, right? To get to a habit, we have to start, all right, with how we think, right? We have to continue with how do we feel, motivated or unmotivated? Well, how do we get motivated? How do we stay motivated? Then we need to know what are the behaviors that we want to take. So we want to work on an inner game and an outer game. So all of my students, for example, all my private clients, whether I'm working with a CEO or an athlete or a homemaker, doesn't matter. I ask them to commit to 100 days, okay, to develop a new pattern that they can reinforce. So do you think it's reasonable? Let me ask you a question. Do you think it's reasonable to say to yourself that I'm going to commit to 100 days to give myself the best chances of a solid foundation that I could build upon? So instead of thinking that I'm going to change a result or change a habit that I've had for 10, 20, 30 years in a weekend or in a week or two or three, that's just unrealistic. Do you think that if we just change the expectation and we said, okay, I'm going to do it fast, but I'm not going to do it so fast that I don't sustain the thinking, the emotions, and the behaviors. So here's what I want to ask you, right? If you're committed to an outcome that you don't just want to achieve and then stop, right? Then why not commit to a process that you can continue? And people will do things for either a reason, a season, or a lifetime. A reason, a season, or a lifetime. Here's what we know, okay? Let's say you've been earning a certain amount of income for the last, 10 years. All right, within range. And you want to maybe double or triple your income. Isn't it worth it to be disciplined to sustainable change versus, rapid change that goes away? If we are creatures of habit, then why not get really good at develop empowering, constructive, positive habits? Why not get good at upgrading our own mental and emotional and behavioral software so that once we do it, we can just sustain it because we set a new expectation for ourselves? There's too many people, okay, out there teaching, fast food thinking, lose all the weight in 7 days. Well, you're going to gain it all back because most of the weight you lose is water, right? Let's see how much money I can make this weekend. Well, that's great, but you're not going to sustain it because the habit is not there. This is why people who win the lottery lose it within 3 years, and people who lose money that they've made it gain it back within 3 years because they have the neural pattern of the behavior.
You have to get the word out that you're out there, and you can do it right now inexpensively online. You can do it through networking. You can do it through being in groups. You can do it in a variety of different ways. And every one of your strategies of what you do has to match your ability to execute and do it. So don't pick a strategy like doing videos if you hate being on camera. Don't say I'm going to write articles if you're not going to write yourself, or hire a company to write for you. So pick the strategies that you're actually going to do to completion. And here's what I recommend. If you want to start solving the Rubik's Cube, start with the 2x2, then 3x3 and 4x4. Why? Because in learning the 2x2, you learn the fundamentals for the 3x3. And that translates to you doing things in business that's actually easy for you to do or easy for you to learn first. As the CEO of your company, you need to be focusing every day on marketing and generating leads and
every day on converting those leads into paying customers. And then every day, the people that don't buy, you need to nurture them and develop a relationship with them. And when you focus on lead generation, lead conversion, and lead nurturing, now you have a daily process of what every business owner that makes it to 100,000, 250, 500, a million consistently knows they had to figure out. And when you want to get to the next level, the next level, the next level, it's a function of more leads that are qualified, that you convert, that you nurture, and then you create some processes and systems that'll help you grow and scale. Thinking the right way is just as important as doing the right things. So don't get caught up just doing a whole bunch of stuff. Do the right things in the right order at the right time, and that'll be like opening up a safe with the right combination.
Here's what I learned many, many years ago, and I'm going to leave you with this. One of my mentors, who is a billionaire, said, John, I don't want you to get stronger at your weaknesses. I want you to get stronger at your strengths. I want you to manage your weaknesses. Manage my weaknesses. I said to him, how do I manage my weaknesses? He says, you practice radical honesty about what you're strong in, create a plan to get better, and you are radically honest what you're not good at, and you find people to help you who are good at that. Now, here is what I'm going to leave you with. He said to me, hire people who play at things you have to work at. Hire people who play at things you have to work at. And I can fill in the blank like I did before. Say, you can hire, barter, defer payment, or partner with people who play at the things that you have to work at. All right, so if you're not good at certain parts of business, that's okay. You need to admit you're not good at it, but your job as the CEO of your business is to figure out, how am I going to get that done? By asking better questions, you get better answers. But by saying, I'm not good at that, I don't know how to do that, I don't like that, you're reinforcing your patterns in your brain. You're reinforcing patterns in your brain that are going to make you worse at it. So instead of putting yourself down, lift yourself up. Instead of coming up with stories and reasons and excuses why you can't, focus your brain on how you will, because you must. You got to clear through the noise of negativity out there. Stay positive, because people are buying, people are buying, people are buying right now, right now. And that means that there is more business available to you. But you have to manage your mindset, upgrade your skill set, and then make sure that you're taking the right actions in the right order at the right time. If your self-image is not in coherence with the goal that you want to achieve, you'll sabotage your success. We discovered that self-esteem, if there's a disconnect between our vision and goals and self-esteem will drag us down, procrastinate, sabotage, rationalize. Those are the causes, or the self-esteem is one of the causes that holds us back.
If you want more top 10 videos, they're not on this channel anymore. I have a dedicated channel just for it. Go check it out. The link is right there next to me. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.